What's up, Affordable Armory folks? How y'all doing? So for a while now, I've been thinking about doing like some tips and tricks videos, and I had a viewer request for a cleaning video, specifically of the Glock 43X. So here we go. Tips and tricks video number 1, featuring the Glock 43X. If this goes well, I'll start doing more of these videos, and then you'll get 2 videos a week. Without further ado, let's head over to the bench and go clean the Glock 43X. Alright, so first things first, safety. Let's clear this gun. Lock the slide to the rear, eject the magazine, and visually verify that the chamber is empty. There's no ammunition in the magazine. I'm going to set that to the side, and there's no ammunition at all on the workbench. A couple things that you're going to need to get started. You're going to need a rag. You're going to need some solvent. Hops number 9 is very prevalent. You can buy this stuff at Walmart. Pretty much every gun shop under the sun has this stuff. It's probably a safe choice if you want to go with this. You'll also need some oil, which we've got here. This is actually a spray can oil. You put this little straw in there and it concentrates where it sprays. Some other options, good old CLP. As you can see, it stands for cleaner, lubricant, and preservative. So this is your all-in-one. You use it the first time to clean it, and then you apply a second coat when you are lubing it. And so that is what I actually prefer, because 1 is way better than 2. I've also got this CLP applicator, which is very nice. I'll be using this later on in the video, and you'll see why it's so awesome. This is not a necessity. You can use that can that I just showed you, but I like these. These are very cool. A couple other options. These are what I like to call snake oil. It's your fancy schmancy high dollar stuff that Hops number 9 has been around for freaking ever, however long, I don't know, probably like 1,000 years or something. But this is a newer brand. It's pretty popular. It's called Breakthrough, and their deal is, as you can see, it's clear, but it has no odor to it. So if you're sensitive to smell, this would be a good thing to get. You'll still need to get some oil to lube your gun, but for cleaning your gun, this is good stuff. I have used it. It does work, but it's not like, you don't need to spend $20 on a bottle of solvent, guys. That's ridiculous. I don't know if it costs $20, but I feel like it does. And then here's another Breakthrough product. This is copper remover. This stuff is good if you've got like a lot of fouling on your gun. I don't use this too often, but I have used it specifically on my revolver. That tends to get a bit more fouling than some of my other guns. But anyway, there's some options for you. Now we need some tools. I recommend some sort of tray. This one is actually from Glock, but it's nice because you can throw your small parts in there and they're not going to go anywhere. Another thing you're going to need is a nylon brush. You can use an old toothbrush if you want. That way you don't have to buy these, but these are only like $2. It's not like they're super expensive. But a nylon brush, and then for certain areas and for some more stubborn stuff, this is a brass bristle brush. And wow, say that 3 times fast. You're not going to use this on stainless parts, obviously. You're probably not going to use it on your slide because it will scratch the crap out of it. But there are certain occasions where this is good. And there's also a steel brush, but I don't have one handy. That gets used even less, so probably not a necessity. Of all those, I would say definitely get you a nylon brush, or like I said, use an old toothbrush that you don't care about anymore. And the last thing you need is something to clean the bore. These are very cheap and very handy. This is, as you can see, a kit for 357 Magnum, 38 Special, and 9mm because they're all the same diameter. Pretty neat little kit. So everything attaches to this right here. You've got some screwdrivers and various like Torx heads, flat heads, etc. You've got your bore scrubber, you've got a bore mop, and you've got a jag, as well as this other piece right here for attaching patches to clean the bore. So I'm not going to use this today because I like another method better, and I'm going to show you that method right now. Dun, 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 dun. This is called a bore snake. These things are awesome. They make life so much easier. Instead of using a ton of patches, you just run this thing through the bore and it cleans it out. Done. If you're gonna do this on your mom's dining room table, don't do that. But if you do, put a towel down first because it's probably gonna get messy. Same thing if you're gonna do this on your kitchen counter. Put a towel down, you know, preferably one that you don't care about ruining, because once it gets oil and stuff on it, you can wash it, but you can't put it in the dryer. Anyway, just put something down to cover your surface. Now I'm going to be doing this here on my workbench, so whatever oil or residue gets on here, if any, I'll just wipe it away. Some things not to use. I've seen people do this and I don't know why. Don't use Q-tips. Okay, some people like to take their solvent here. They'll take their Q-tip, they'll stick it down in there, dip it in the solvent, and they'll rub that all over. And I don't recommend that because you'll get cotton residue all over your gun, and it gets in those tiny little crevices, which we'll show you when I disassemble the gun. And that's just bad juju. That's asking for trouble. You'll get all sorts of gunk and buildup in your gun doing that. And the other one I don't recommend is paper towels. Guys, use a rag. Use an actual rag, not paper towels. Alright, now that we've covered everything we're going to be using, let's disassemble the gun. Glocks are fairly easy to take apart. I like to wrap my hand in, almost kind of like I'm going to fire it, but I tip my hands up like this at an angle. See how my fingers are kind of sticking up? Wrap them over the slide, and that allows me to press backwards like that. See how the slide moved backwards just by simply pressing on it? Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is press that trigger, and then I'm going to make that motion that I just showed you. Pull it to the rear, pull down my two takedown tabs. So there's one on either side. It's actually one piece, but sticks out on either side. But pull that down, and then that slide will go forward and come right off. Easy peasy. All right, so we can set the frame to the side for now. The next thing you're going to do is remove your recoil spring and guide rod assembly, and you do that by pressing forward to relieve tension. Hold on to it because it is a spring. It will shoot out. And then pull that out. I'm going to set that in my parts bin over there. And then the next thing you do is pull out the barrel. Easy peasy. And that's it. That's all you have to do to disassemble any Glock. So let's start cleaning it. The first thing I'm going to do is take my CLP here. Stick the straw in there. And I'm going to spray down all my parts. I like to do the barrel first. So we'll take and we'll spray some CLP down in the barrel. Get it all over. Get some CLP all over that barrel. And I like to do this with my hands. If you don't like to get messy, use some like nitrile gloves or something. Pretty much what you do, spray your solvent all over it, or if you're using the liquid solvent, you can take like one of your patches from the cleaning kit and dip that down in there and then manually wipe it all over. If you were going to clean the inside of the bore, the same thing. You could take a patch and run it through there with your cleaning rod from the cleaning kit and get solvent in there that way. And now that that's all covered in solvent, I'm going to set that to the side and let it sit. The next piece I'm going to do is the Recoil spring and guide rod, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just spray a little bit all over it and kind of rub it all around, and that's about all I'm going to do for that. Next up, the slide. Alright, so for the outside, again, just kind of you know, spray it on there, rub it all around real good. Use my fingers, stick my pinky in the hole, kind of get it in there. Yeah. Alright, now I'm going to spray some down in there. I'm going to spray some in here. I'm going to do my best to rub it around, get it in the slide channels. See that channel right there? That part is one of the parts that you want to be as clean as possible. And we're going to do that in a bit more detail here in just a second. One area you do not want to get oil in is that round part right there. That's your striker channel. That hole right in the center. See that? You do not want to get oil or lube down in there. So when you clean the face of that, make sure it's with a dry brush. Otherwise, stuff can get in there and it can get caked up and cause your striker to not function properly. And now we're going to take the frame and we're going to do similar things. I'm going to basically cover anything that's metal. So all these parts here, that guy there. See how dirty that is? I mean, that's this gun has been fired quite a bit. All right, and again, don't worry about it being on the plastic, because we're just gonna wipe all that away. It's really not a big deal. Some people are like, oh, don't get any oil on the plastic. It's not gonna hurt it, I promise. You just wipe it clean. So that's it. We're gonna let all that sit down in there and just kind of soak. And now we've let the barrel sit for a while. This is where the rag comes in. Take your barrel, take your rag, and just wipe her down. Wipe off all that excess oil, and then take your nylon brush, kind of scrub in all those little areas like this channel here. That's important because that's where the barrel locks up when the slide moves to the rear. That's what allows the gun to function that way. The other part that you want to make sure is good and clean is the feed ramp right here, and as you can see, it is pretty clean. If it was not clean, you could take your brush and scrub on it. You want to get any caked carbon off of there, because that is where the round feeds up into the chamber here, and you want that to be nice and smooth. You just want to make sure that that is clean of any excess carbon buildup. Now, the quick and easy way to clean the inside of the barrel is you take this end of your bore brush, drop it down into the barrel, pull it through, just like that, and then boom, barrel's clean. Now if it doesn't get clean 100% on the first go. You can run it through a couple more times. That's not like, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing it multiple times. Some people like to take their bore brush here and see where these brushes are here. Those are mimicking what the brush you would put on one of these. It's mimicking that right there. So like I said, this is kind of your all-in-one. It's a mop, it's a brush, all in one. And then you don't need 100 bajillion patches. So some people like to take a little bit of their solvent and put it right here, and then that, you know, helps break up the debris in the barrel, and then the brushes scrub it, and then this mops it up. Next up, we got our recoil spring and guide rod assembly, and this we're literally just gonna take our rag and wipe it clean. Set that to the side, and we move on to the slide. So now that that solvent has been sitting there for a while, what I'm going to do is take my nylon brush and scrub. Just literally scrub, 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 scrub. Okay. And then I'm going to take and scrub down in here. I'm going to scrub in here and use the small end and scrub in here. All right. And since I don't want to scratch the finish, the outside, I'm just going to wipe clean. So again, take your rag and wipe it clean. Now, you're probably wondering, how the heck do you get all the oil out of the inside? So, what I like to do is take my rag, drape it over it like this, kind of hold it from underneath, and then I take my brush and I rub the brush in there. I'm literally just doing exactly what I did with the brush, but now I have the rag in its place and it should be absorbing all of that excess oil for me. Ta-da! Isn't that cool? What I'm going to do is take this small end of the brush here and I'm going to stick it in the hole like this. And then you can see getting up some of that stuff that I didn't get. Okay, I'm going to do that in the smaller hole as well. Okay, and then same thing for this area down in here. Make sure I get that good and clean. There we go, that looks better. Now I mentioned earlier that the slide channel here, this is very important that is absolutely clean. So what you want to do, again, drape this over the top here and take your brush and clean out that slide channel. Got to use the small end of the brush because the big one won't get down in there the way you want it to. There we go. Nice and clean. Now I flip it over. We'll do the other side the exact same way. While the solvent's still on there, you can take your brush and scrub all that, but you do have to go back and wipe all that residue out of there. So I just like to scrub it using the rag over the brush. That way I can do both at once and I'm scrubbing it, and I'm also picking up all that debris, and I don't have to go back after the fact and clean it. Now the last part of the slide, as I mentioned, you want to do this with a dry brush. Now that I've gotten all the wet scrubbing done, you just take your brush and clean right over the surface of that. Now you can see that it is indeed much cleaner. There's no caked on carbon on the striker surface there. And that's all for the slide. The slide is clean. Now we'll clean the frame. The important components to worry about here, again, are the slide rails. Just like we did on the slide, we want to make sure that these slide rails, so there's one there, one there, one there, and one there. We want to make sure that those are clean and free of debris. So I'm going to take the small brush here, scrub it out. Scrub this one. Flip it over, do the same. Okay, last one. I like to scrub all of the metal parts, but it's more so just general scrubbing. So I mean, I'll kind of do this number here. More of that's going to come off when we wipe it down than it is by just doing this, but you can run your brush over it to kind of break it loose, and then we'll go over it again with the rag pretty much the same way we did on the slide. So here we go. Let's wipe off all this excess that's all over this freaking frame. Just like before, I'm literally going to wrap this right over the top, and I'm going to kind of pull it down tight, and I'm going to scrub. Scrub. And the goal here is to pick up any excess solvent that is still sitting there, as well as scrub off any caked on carbon. And you're doing this all in one rather than doing it in two goes. If I scrubbed it first, I would still have to go back and wipe it, but using the rag like this, I can do both at the same time. And all right, and then like I said, those slide rails are the most important. So okay, there's one. If you have to look, go ahead, just lift up the rag, kind of find it. I'm just doing it by feel, but there is the slide rail. I'll flip it over. There's a slide rail right there. Make sure that's good and clean. And then the last one should be right there. Again, I'm just feeling it with my thumb, using the small brush here to get into that gap. And that is it. And that's all for the cleaning portion. Now, before you put this thing back together, you do want to lube it. So that is where this guy comes in, because if I use this, it can get a little bit messy. And then if I use like a bottle oil, I mean, this is the solvent, but they do have a bottled version that's the lubricant. That also gets messy, and I want more precise placement of my lubricant because there's only a very select few places that you really need to put it. So I got this little applicator here, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a dab there, put a dab right there. I'm going to flip it over and put a dab there, put a dab right there. I'm going to put a dab right there. Okay. And I'm going to put a dab right there. So 6 places there. I'm also going to put one right there. So that's 7 places on the slide that you should put lube. You don't need very much. Like you can see, I put 1 drop. All right, and those are the 4 rails need oil. This spot right here is where the frame interacts with the barrel, so it needs lube. This is your trigger safety disconnector. I'm forgetting the exact nomenclature for that part, but that's why I put oil there. It's because it's always moving, and then this part right here also interacting with moving parts. Now I'm going to take the slide and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put 1 drop right there on that slide, or that slide rail. I'm going to put 1 drop right there inside that slide rail, and that's all for the slide. Okay, real quick, I'm refilming this because apparently that video was so long the camera cut itself off. So reassembly, you're going to take your slide, take your barrel with this part up, drop it down in there, let it go in the hole, and it should just sit right in there. Take your recoil spring and guide rod assembly. The round part goes into the round hole there. Press it in, and then press in on it until it goes into place, just like that. And then these slots here line up with these rails right here. So set it on top just like that. See how the rails go into those slots. All right, pull it all the way to the rear and let go. And you are now reassembled. There you go. Do a function check. Press the trigger without pressing the blade and it shouldn't go off. That's because that's your safety. It's working. Press the trigger. It works. It should stay to the rear. Rack the slide. Press the trigger again. Rack it. Let it out. It should reset. Press the trigger. Wiggle it back and forth. You should hear that firing pin moving around. Rack the slide. Let it go forward again, and you're done. The only other check I did not do was the magazine check, but function check complete. So there you have it, guys. That's the Glock 43X cleaning video. If you have more questions like this, please feel free to send me an email. Leave a comment below this video. If you got ideas for future tips and tricks videos, I'm open to suggestions. As you can see, this was a viewer suggested video, and so I made this video for you guys. Anyways, as always, please like and subscribe to the channel. Head over to affordable-armory.com and pick up some merch to help support the channel. Follow us on Instagram at Affordable Armory, and the Facebook page. That's where you'll see updates for when we're releasing new videos, as well as when the new blog posts go up. And I'm also going to be posting links to deals and some of the gear that I review and stuff like that. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.